Robert Pera is one of the most fascinating figures in modern business and professional sports. Yet he remains almost completely out of the spotlight. He is the kind of billionaire who avoids interviews, rarely appears in public, and has built an empire quietly while others chase the limelight. He is the founder of Ubiquiti, a global networking company worth billions, and the owner of the Memphis Grizzlies, an NBA franchise that has gained respect as one of the league's most competitive small-market teams. His journey is not just about wealth or power, but about how a reclusive engineer turned himself into one of the youngest billionaires of his time and reshaped both technology and sports in his own quiet way. Robert Pera was born in 1978 in San Carlos, California, a suburban town in the Bay Area. From childhood, he was different. He was quiet, reserved, and more interested in tinkering with electronics than chasing popularity. As a boy, he struggled with health issues, including a heart condition that forced him to stay home from school for long stretches. For most children, that kind of isolation might feel limiting, but for Robert, it became an opportunity. While his peers were outside playing, he spent hours reading, studying, and building electronics. He taught himself the fundamentals of engineering long before he formally studied it. That period of solitude trained him to focus deeply, to block out distractions, and to rely on himself, traits that would later define his career. When he entered high school, his talent for technology was already clear. He built his own weather station at home so he could track and analyze data. That curiosity eventually led him to study electrical engineering at the University of California, San Diego. He earned both a bachelor's and a master's degree, proving that his fascination with electronics was not just a hobby, but a lifelong pursuit. After graduation, he looked for opportunities to put his skills to use, and that search led him to one of the most prestigious companies in the world. Working at Apple might seem like the dream job for any young engineer, and in some ways it was. Robert joined Apple's wireless division, where he worked on Wi-Fi technology. But even there, he noticed something others overlooked. He realized that Apple's wireless devices were being limited by weak signal strength. He proposed solutions to boost the performance of Wi-Fi equipment, but within the company's corporate structure, his ideas were not prioritized. To Robert, this was frustrating. He was convinced he had found a better way to design wireless technology, but his vision did not fit into Apple's plans. Instead of giving up, he decided to act on his own. In 2005, Robert Pera left Apple and started his own company. With very little capital and no guarantee of success, he launched Ubiquiti Networks. His mission was simple but ambitious: to provide high-performance, affordable wireless networking equipment, especially for underserved markets. While big companies like Cisco focused on enterprise clients, Robert targeted smaller businesses, rural areas, and developing countries. He believed everyone should have access to reliable internet, not just wealthy corporations. At first, Ubiquiti was a small operation with limited resources. Robert did much of the engineering work himself, designing products that were both effective and affordable. The company did not spend heavily on marketing. Instead, it relied on word of mouth among engineers and networking professionals. Slowly but surely, Ubiquiti products gained a following. They were cheaper than the competition, easier to deploy, and powerful enough to handle demanding tasks. By focusing on engineering rather than flashy branding, Robert created a cult-like reputation for Ubiquiti among tech enthusiasts. The company grew quickly, reaching markets all over the world. Within a few years, Ubiquiti was not just a small startup, but a publicly traded company with billions in market value. Robert Pera, still in his 30s, became one of the youngest billionaires on the planet. But while many entrepreneurs would have embraced the spotlight, Robert remained true to his reclusive nature. He rarely gave interviews, avoided industry conferences, and kept his personal life private. Instead, he poured his energy into Ubiquiti and, in an unexpected twist, into professional basketball. In 2012, Robert Pera made a move that shocked the sports world. He purchased the Memphis Grizzlies for about $350 million. At the time, many people wondered why a quiet tech billionaire from California would want to own an NBA team in a small market like Memphis. But for Robert, the decision was strategic and deeply personal. He loved basketball and believed that sports, like technology, could be transformed with the right vision. Owning a team in Memphis was not the same as owning one in Los Angeles or New York. The market was smaller, the revenue potential was lower, and the margin for error was thin. But Robert saw value where others saw limitations. He believed that with strong leadership, analytics-driven decision-making, and a commitment to the community, the Grizzlies could thrive. His approach to ownership mirrored his approach to business. He stayed in the background, empowering his executives and coaches to run the team. He was not the type of owner to sit courtside at every game or insert himself into the spotlight. Instead, he quietly supported the franchise, invested in its future, and allowed the results to speak for themselves. Under his ownership, the Grizzlies became known for their toughness, grit, and consistent playoff appearances. The team developed a reputation as one of the NBA's most respected small-market franchises. Yet Robert Pera's reclusiveness created its own set of challenges. Fans sometimes wondered how committed he truly was, since he was rarely seen at games or press events. Media outlets speculated about his involvement, and critics questioned whether he was too distant. But those close to the team often defended him, pointing out that his financial support and strategic direction were critical to the Grizzlies' success. In many ways, Robert was simply applying the same philosophy he had used in business. Let the product, whether it is a piece of technology or a basketball team, prove itself. There is one story that illustrates the mystique around Robert Pera. In 2013, he agreed to a charity one-on-one basketball game against Tony Allen, one of the Grizzlies' toughest players. The event generated huge buzz, with fans eager to see the billionaire owner face off against a professional athlete. But at the last minute, the game was canceled due to scheduling conflicts. To this day, fans wonder how serious Robert was about playing and whether he could have held his own. That small episode only added to his reputation as a mysterious figure who does things his own way. What makes Robert Pera so compelling is the contrast between his influence and his invisibility. He built a global technology company worth billions, yet most people have never even heard his name. He owns an NBA franchise, yet he is almost never seen on television or in interviews. He has wealth that rivals the most famous billionaires, yet he chooses to live outside the media spotlight. His story also reveals something important about success in the modern world. Not all billionaires seek attention. Not all leaders need to be public figures. Some, like Robert Pera, prefer to let their work speak louder than their words. In an age dominated by social media and constant visibility, his quiet approach is unusual, but it is also powerful. Think about it. How many team owners can you name off the top of your head? Probably a handful of the most visible ones. But how many of those owners have actually built a technology empire, disrupted an industry, and still kept their lives completely private? Robert Pera belongs to a rare category, the invisible billionaire whose impact is everywhere, even if his face is not. Looking at the bigger picture, Robert's legacy may ultimately be about more than just business or basketball. He represents a new kind of leadership model, one that is not dependent on charisma or media presence, but on vision, execution, and persistence. His ability to spot opportunities where others see none has defined his career, from building affordable wireless technology to investing in a small-market NBA team. Of course, challenges remain. Ubiquiti faces competition from giants like Cisco and new players in the networking space. The NBA is an ever-changing landscape, and small-market teams like the Grizzlies always face uphill battles in attracting top talent. But if Robert's past is any indication, he is not easily deterred. His patience, long-term vision, and willingness to stay in the background may continue to be his greatest strengths. Robert Pera's story is not about glitz or glamour. It is about the power of focus, persistence, and independence. From a sickly child in California to one of the youngest billionaires in the world, from an overlooked engineer at Apple to the owner of an NBA franchise, his journey proves that you do not need to be loud to make an impact. Sometimes the quietest figures create the biggest changes. And here's the thought I want to leave you with. In a world obsessed with visibility, fame, and constant exposure, Robert Pera shows that there's another path. Success can be built quietly, influence can be exercised without headlines, power can exist without attention. The question is, do you think more leaders should follow his example, focusing on results instead of visibility? Or is presence in the spotlight necessary to inspire confidence? Reflect on that, because Robert Pera's story forces us to rethink what true leadership looks like in the modern age.